Good evening, cult members, and welcome to Pop Culture Cult. I'm Sean.
I'm Janice.
And welcome to our reaction review discussion summary of What If, Marvel's What If, and this one is What If the Watcher broke his oath? And his oath is he will not interfere. He'll just be the creeper in the corner.
Right.
And-
Kind of didn't have a choice.
And he didn't have a choice because Ultron is a big meanie head. I like that this episode started with him collecting his team.
Yeah.
And him going to... It started with Captain Carter at the start of Winter Soldier when they're going to do the ship
Right.
rescue or whatever.
Right.
And instead of it's Captain Carter and Black Widow who are BFFs instead of Bucky and Steve.
Right.
And although we don't have Bucky at this point in time, but that idea of them being BFFs is I want more of that, like just on its own, right? But them starting and like, oh yeah, you remember how Winter Soldier starts with this scene?
Yeah.
And I like that. But I also like that the Watcher comes in and says, "You've been chosen," to Peggy.
Yep.
And he does that with Gamora, not Tony, which we'll get into in a minute. Star-Lord, he actually calls him T'Challa, Star-Lord, leader of the Ravengers.
Would be Prince of...
Lost Prince of Wakanda.
There you go. Lost Prince of Wakanda, yeah.
Keeper of the Seven Kingdoms, Mother of Dragons, the Unburnt. He gets Killmonger. I have questions. And then he goes and gets Party Thor, and Party Thor is fighting all of Ultron drones in Vegas.
Yep.
And they bring him. He brings them all together in the bar that is the end. That's in First Avenger, where Tony and the gang go, or not Tony, Steve and the gang go
Yeah.
get drunk, and then it
Yeah.
gets bombed and stuff like that during the war and stuff. So that whole process, the whole idea of the Watcher's interfering, but he's not really interfering directly. He's manipulating the situation, I guess is a better way of putting it.
I mean, he's made himself known to all of these people.
Right.
So I think by definition that's interfering.
And bringing them, like making a point of bringing them all together.
Right, because they don't, and you kind of find out later when they run into Black Widow, the one from the zombie,
No, it's the
one from the
Ultron
world,
Yeah.
that they
What if Ultron
aren't
wins?
all from the same world, timeline, universe. They say universe, but that kind of doesn't make sense. I don't know. Multiverse?
Yeah, it's run through very quickly. All of them kind of like, oh, okay, we're in. You know, like them explaining and the team up and the planning thing is all run through really fast. And I feel like that little section maybe too is maybe played for laughs a little bit more because it's the Watcher and Strange Supreme kind of going back and forth. Well, you picked him. Well, I picked him.
Right.
You know, kind of that kind of thing.
Right.
And I that's maybe my one criticism about this episode was that particular scene of them coming together and saying, hey, we're all from different universes. And
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of a... I can't specifically say a comic book, but that's kind of a movie trope that happens a lot, especially with these type of movies where, you know, if that was real, I mean, like Natasha says at one point, I spend my day talking to a raccoon. Anything you say to me is not going to be weird, right?
Right.
It's just, you kind of got to just go, it is what it is, right?
It's very Doctor Who with Rose. Is that an alien? Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
You just kind of move on. Like, there's no reason to sit there and explain it again. You don't need to explain the multiverse. You just spent 8 episodes doing the multiverse.
Right.
Now you don't need to spend 5 minutes, even though I'm complaining about it.
And
this, the characters.
And this isn't the weirdest thing any of them have seen, right? So, like Black Widow, she knows that about Ultron because he completely destroyed her world, right?
Yeah.
So she knows about him.
Yeah.
That's T'Challa, Lord, Star Chala,
Lord, space, time continuum.
He's out in space, so he sees all kinds of weird stuff all the time,
right.
and so whatever.
It was just an interesting kind of like. I'll say it. It was a yada yada, but it was a yada yada to kind of the episodes are only like 25, 28 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
So you can't, like I said, you can't spend 5 minutes explaining the multiverse again to the characters,
right? Or trying to help them over the weirdness of
it and stuff like that. So. They formulate a plan to steal the Soul Stone and get Gamora. And use Gamora's
Stone Crusher,
Infinity Stone Crusher, because in her universe, her and Tony in a version of the Hulkbuster armor, that's all painted up like the designs from Sakaar.
Yeah.
They're a team, and they've crushed all the Infinity Stones, and she's the one that killed Thanos.
Right, and they show them by. Peter Dinklage character.
Yeah, I knew you
melting the Infinity Gauntlet, so you know that they have eradicated the gauntlet, the stones, whatever. You get that.
Yep, and that's kind of that. At least because we haven't had Gamora. Gamora's been the missing piece in this whole series of stuff.
And Tony didn't die.
But he got shut out. Like he got dismissed.
Specifically said, "Not you."
Not you. Yeah. And like backhanded, like not even a backhanded like slap. It was just not you, Tony, not you.
Yeah.
Like, Gamora, you've been chosen. And Tony's like, but like this whole series has been this whole series has been about continuing the MCU story without Tony.
Yeah.
They've killed him off or pushed him in the background like in every episode, which is okay. I'm okay with that, and I like that idea.
Yeah, because he's not coming back, and Robert Downey Jr. is not coming back. Even if some version of Iron Man comes back, it's not going to be Robert Downey Jr. So again, like with this show, trying to ease everybody into the idea of multiverses. We're easing everybody into the idea that Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark is no longer in the universe.
I didn't know we were going to go down this aisle, and I'm okay with it. I feel like he's going to come back as the Jarvis for the Jarvis for Riri Williams or in Armor Wars. He's going to be the Jarvis version.
And that
would be totally awesome.
Again, that eases the audience into the fact that it's an Iron Man, but it's not the one that everybody's used to.
It's the AI for
the Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man.
Yeah. They have this epic fight on a planet with no discernible life on it. Until the toast that they all try to do together, and Strange Supreme trying to do this, and then the 4th year of the Academy, and and T'Challa coming in and like totally saving them. That's the total reception wedding.
Yeah,
kind of the best man's trying to give a speech, and somebody comes in and saves them, kind of thing.
When I was 4. He picked me up and carried me home because I skinned my knee. Get on with it.
Okay, let me save you. All right. But they go to a place that it doesn't have any life, so they can have this ultimate fight with Ultron. And the fight itself, I particularly like, because you have everyone. It's actually Natasha's. What's left of her universe, her world.
But she's like the only person alive, right?
Right. and that's important because she has the Arlim Zola. She has the Zola arrow.
Yeah.
That they did in the episode where her and Clint, that was the last episode, I think it was. And so it was kind of cool to go back to that spot because everything else has kind of been up to this point, kind of been the whole revisit this episode. Like we pulled something from this episode, pulled something from this episode.
Yep. So except for Gamora.
Except for Gamora. And the fight's awesome. And their plan for the fight is really well done. And then they ultimately figure out that because each universe is slightly different than the other universes, the Infinity Stone collider, destroyer of things, doesn't work on Ultron's Infinity Stones because they're from a different version.
And they, again, have eased you into this idea with Loki when he pulls open the drawer and there's a whole bunch of Infinity Stones in there. So you're like, oh, yeah, I knew that because you saw it in Loki.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. And it was a nice... again, we've talked about this in the previous episodes. Like a lot of people are like, these are just all one-offs, and I'm like, no, they're all connected. And oh, by the way, like you're talking about, it's connected at least storytelling-wise to everything else that we've been getting around us. Wanda, Loki, Falcon and Winter Soldier, all that kind of stuff has all kind of been leading to easing us into the idea of what we're going into Phase 4, Phase 5, Phase 20, whatever, going down the road. Ultimately, what they figure out in the fight is that the Zola arrow has to be the thing that beats Ultron.
Yeah.
You can only beat a computer program with another computer program.
Right.
Is what it comes down to. And so Natasha shoots the arrow. All the boys are getting their ass kicked. The protection spell thing is a nice little touch throughout the entire way.
Yeah.
That Strange puts on all of them. Captain Carter jumps like across the air. From super jump abilities.
Well, superhuman
cartoons, and rips the helmet off Ultron, and they hit him in the eye, and it downloads Zola, and then they have a Zola Ultron virtual fight for the power of the body.
Right. Which I was like, this may not be the best idea.
This is not the best idea in the world because you're just changing one algorithm
bad guy
for another algorithm bad guy.
Maybe Zola has had enough time in a box to be better now he has legs.
And I love the joke of, I haven't had legs in so long.
Yeah.
I have to stretch out with these or whatever. So Ultron crashes, and all of a sudden, Killmonger, who is the bad guy, everybody feels for him, but he is a bad guy. Has one of the Ultron drone heads that Thor brought with him from his universe. And in that, he figures out how to manipulate the nanobots that is Ultron's armor, and puts it on himself, and then absorbs the stones in that process.
And he's like, hey, we're gonna do this for good. We're gonna bring everybody's planets back. And, one person cannot have absolute power.
It was very much Boromir wanting the one ring to save Gondor.
Yeah.
It was very much that. And I'm okay with that. Like, that idea, that trope, that thought process is very human.
Well, and it fits with Killmonger because he is very gray, right? You're like in Black Panther, Black Panther. You empathize with the reasons that he did what he did. You don't agree with how he did it, but you empathize with what he's going through, his thought process. So it's the same thing here. You understand what he's trying to do. He's trying to, hey, let's, make
and
everything
the Watcher
back
owes
to
us. So the other thing that he said.
Yeah. And that's perfectly understandable. But if you continue to think that thing through, you're going to see that not one person cannot have that kind of power.
Supreme Strange, Zola and Killmonger have a tug of war, and my first initial reaction to when I saw that was the tug of war that Kylo and Rey had over the Skywalker saber, and how they ripped it apart, and they ripped the Kyber crystal apart in Last Jedi, and I felt like that would be I liked that resolution. They were so strong with everything that they were able to pull apart and depower the Infinity Stones.
Yeah.
It for us Star Wars fans, it's just a repeat of a previous story. And so people would have complained about that. And my initial reaction was, oh, they're doing Last Jedi. Oh, that's a bad idea. And what the ultimate resolution was is Strange put him in a stasis cube, like he has actually been trapped in by the Watcher.
Right.
And the Watcher later on says, we need somebody to watch this because if this breaks.
And I have a feeling that that's all going to come back again.
And that's going to be season 2. Is that
I don't know if it'll be season 2. I don't know if maybe, but it kind of feels like you don't do the same gig, you do the next one.
You do the next one.
So, yeah. But in like if this continues on and they do like a season 3 or bring it up in one of the live action shows, because Marvel's really good about putting stuff away, and then all of a sudden it pops back up and you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
So I think that would be interesting to have pop up maybe in the multiverse of madness, or even farther on down the road.
Farther down the road with something else that's going to be cosmic, Eternals.
Yeah, and there's like some giant explosion and it rocks all those little time chamber things.
Something happens, and that's how we get the Fantastic Four and the X-Men, and it affects the little cube. It could be like it's just something. It's there now. It's not. It's one of, like you said. You put this on the shelf over here. There's a little stasis cube of Zola and Ultron's body, and
our snow globe.
Our snow globe of awesome. I like that, and then everybody went back to their own universes from the moment that they left.
Right,
and so everybody gets a reunion except Peggy. Captain Carter says, don't I deserve a happy ending for everything that I've done and everything I've been through? And the Watcher's like, no.
Yeah, I can't. I swore an oath.
I swore an oath. Well, except you've broken it a couple times already.
It's great. But she does exactly what she wants to do exactly what Steve did.
Right.
In
Endgame.
I
got you.
Far From Home. No. That's Spider-Man.
That's also affected by what happened. I love that concept because a lot of the discussion out of Endgame was Steve broke the time travel rules that they set up. Except he doesn't if he goes back in time to be with Peggy and doesn't interfere and allows everything to happen, he's not breaking the rules that they set up. Peggy was asking the Watcher to break the rules that they had set up. But ultimately their love that they have for each other is pure both ways. And I love that they showed that there was that love that Peggy that love that Steve had that carried him through hundreds of years of his life. Peggy still has it too, even if it is just skinny Steve in the photo.
Yeah.
And I just love that was, people forget.
Their love is eternal.
Their love is eternal, but it's absolute too. And even if neither one of them got the super soldier serum, they still would have ended up together. And I just love that concept is there, and that because people got lost in the concept of what Steve did to go be with her.
Right.
And he made a selfish decision, and Tony did not. He made a selfless decision, which is very opposite of their characters the entire way.
Right. Tony spent his entire life being selfish on the ground.
I don't know what that was.
I think it was a screw. Don't scoot around too much.
Okay, all right, sweet.
And Steve spent his entire life being selfless. So
yeah.
They both kind of got the opposite.
But then we get a post-credit scene for on the ship. Natasha saves Peggy after getting headbutted by the French guy who I can't never remember his name, whatever. And she's like, you need to come see this. And they find, what do they call it? War monster? Warhammer? Tell me what it is. Okay. But it's the Steve Iron Man suit from World War II. They find it and there's somebody in it. And that's how they leave the show. Yep. And so
because the last time we saw Skinny Steve was in that suit. And then you never saw him again.
He was in that suit and she was crashing the plane.
Right.
So it was nice that we got that resolution anyways. And so we got resolutions with everybody except for Tony getting kind of just dissed and everything.
And Natasha didn't want to go because she's like, you blew up my planet basically with your big fight, and I don't want to go back because she was the only one left. And he was like, well, you kind of have to. And she was like, no, I don't really. And he's like, I'm
not going to leave this bar. And he's like, well, the bar was
the door was really just a showpiece or whatever.
Yeah.
And she materializes on the helicarrier in a timeline where they lost their Natasha.
So that timeline, I actually figured it out, is the one where Hank Pym killed off he killed off Tony, he killed off Thor, right. He killed off
like
Natasha,
the
second or third or whatever.
Yeah.
What if Earth lost its mightiest heroes or whatever that episode was?
Yeah.
So she got to go be there and stop Loki.
Yep.
From Loki's takeover of Earth because Loki had lost his brother to Hank Pym being a douchebag.
Right.
Hank Pym is actually the big bad of this entire series. It wasn't Ultron. He screwed everybody over multiple times because of love, which is dumb. But she got a resolution too, which was nice. And so it was a nice little bow for everything that happens in this, other than the snow globe on the shelf kind of thing.
Right.
And so I know that they're going to do a season 2.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering what story they're going to want to tell with that, because it is still What If.
Yeah.
And
I think it'd be fun if they just did exactly what they just did, with a bunch of random one-offs that ultimately kind of come together at the end. Because I mean, I like these stories, these different versions of, so you're sitting there and you're like, oh, I remember that, but this is completely different.
Yeah.
And there's that little nugget. I feel like some reactors, we won't name any names, are having a hard time with the fact that these people are not in the MCU universe that we all watch.
Right.
And they keep trying to put them in this can't be this because so-and-so isn't alive. And this isn't the same.
Why didn't Vision just do with the Mind Stone and cut Thanos in half when Thanos showed up?
Right.
If you want to back up another 5 minutes, Wanda's taking the stone out of his head.
Right.
That's why he can't use the stone.
Right.
And it doesn't matter. He's got the freaking time stone. So it doesn't.
But it's just, again, which is why I think that Marvel, this is one of the reasons, this is to help people start to kind of get their minds around the fact that these timelines could all be happening together, but not together. So Clint he's missing an arm. He's got a robotic arm because he's in a different timeline.
Yeah,
he's in a different universe, whatever.
He never became Ronin. He never, he lost his family, so he helped fight, yeah. I'll just sit here and give examples the entire time when you've already explained it. I like the series as a whole. Now that it's all laid out, I like to go back and rewatch it.
Yeah.
Just to kind of get
pick stuff up.
Pick up There was stuff that happened in this episode where I was like, wait, we talked about that 3 episodes ago.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a throwaway thing. Again, Marvel playing with us a little bit. But I would like to see another season. I know that they're working on it. I just don't know when it's coming out. And the next big Marvel thing for us is going to be Eternals at the end of the month. And I'm wondering what that's all going to be. And we don't get anything new TV-wise until December with Hawkeye. So at least Marvel-wise, now we've got some Star Wars stuff coming. But yeah, so that's where we're at. Anything else? Oh, there's one thing I did want to say that we didn't mention. Strange to keep Ultron busy brought all the zombies from the zombie Earth, the zombie plane, and they were like, zombies, right? Like Thor's like, oh, cool, zombies, and they're like, how is that going to keep him busy?
Yeah.
And he's like, there's something else in there. And it was Zombie Wanda, which I'm glad that they brought that back, because that was going to be a story hole that they didn't really explain. Yeah. And as powerful as she is as a zombie, there had to have been some resolution, and Ultron pretty much just kicks her ass. But it was a cool to see.
I feel like she saw that it was Jarvis.
Jarvis. Vision.
Vision. That she saw, because she kind of just went, oh, and like kind of gave over to him. So I feel like she saw that it was him and just kind of gave up.
Yeah, it was just interesting. The only only other one that we didn't get any resolution with is T'Challa, Scott Lang's head with the cloak, and Peter Parker. And they were going to Wakanda, and Wakanda had already been taken over by the zombies there. So that was the only thing that really, as I'm thinking through the series a little bit, that was the only major thing that didn't get really resolved.
Well, and there was Shuri, in like you saw her for a minute.
Yeah, they were going after Killmonger.
Yeah, but then there really wasn't anything else from them too. So that's another story that they could continue on in the next season.
So what if they got to Killmonger first? That means he doesn't go get the stones. Now he's not in the snow globe. So anyways, so that's half an hour when we probably skipped a whole bunch. But let us know what you thought of this episode, the season as a whole of What If, and our reactions and reviews and discussion that we had with them. Let us know in the comments down below. Please be nice. There's a requirement around here. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, follow us on all the social media stuff, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Links in the description down here somewhere. And until next time, cult members, good afternoon, good evening, and good night now.